Welcome back to the Between the Levees podcast. I'm joined today by Miss Deborah Mayfield. She's had a nearly 35-year career that began in accounting in the late 80s. Her career has taken her through a number of companies, some of which I'm familiar with, and I'd like to know a little bit more. Miss Mayfield, thank you very much for joining me.
It's my pleasure, Tim.
Well, tell me a little bit about what you do these days.
What I do these days, Mr. James Scott, who's a close personal friend of mine. I've known him for over 20 years. He was opening the barge fleet here in Corpus, and he told me he needed me to come down here and help him get it started. So I came down and I started out helping him in dispatch. We set up the dispatch department, and that was in February of 2022. And then in November, I was promoted to his assistant, and then to HSSE Manager probably in February or March of this year. And that's what I've been doing all the compliance and, Coast Guard issues and whatever whatever we need to do to get us legal, let's put it that way, to satisfy the TGLO, TCEQ, the Coast Guard. So that includes up to and including updating our ops manual, our response plan, just standard operating procedures. So I'm always reading. I have my head in a book at all times and always modifying something. So it's interesting.
Well, let's take it back a few years. Tell me, where were you born?
I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana.
What did your parents do for a living?
My dad owned his own electrical business and my mother was a housewife.
Were you drawn to anything in school growing up? Did you spend your entire childhood in New Orleans?
No, I actually, about 1969, 68 or 69, we moved to the West Bank, to Marrero, Louisiana, and lived about a block and a half from the Mississippi River. So, got to see all the boats and the ships up the northbound and southbound. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated high school and I went into business college. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I figured taking accounting would be a safe way to get into an office environment, and then I could go from there. And I sure did.
Was there anything else you enjoyed growing up?
Not really. I was good in math and I was really good with numbers, so I figured I could excel at that, and I did. And it just got to be pretty boring, actually. So I had the opportunity to work in the marine business, and I don't know, I latched onto that and I just loved it. So I had this insatiable knowledge that I couldn't get enough. I had to keep learning more and more and more about the business. And I was very fortunate that I had a lot of really good mentors and allowed me to do that. Some's been in maintenance and, go to shipyards and crewing. And, I worked with James. We on towboat trip work together. And then, we worked together, throughout the rest of our career with various companies. So it's been pretty interesting. I've done audits and I've done all this good stuff. So I enjoyed it.
Did you say you attended any college?
I attended business college, Delta College, and that's when I majored in accounting. So I thought, I knew I wasn't going to stay doing accounting. It was just, I was good with numbers. So I figured it was, try there and see where it led me. So maybe I'd find something that I really wanted to do. And then I did.
And did you finish up that accounting program, or did you get to work prior to that?
No, I did. I finished up. I went to school and I finished the accounting program, and then I went on into the workforce. And I think my first job was, I worked for Pool Offshore Company on Peters Road in accounting. And then I got hired into accounting by a marine broker, and I worked for him for 5 years. And I went to Marine Inland and I worked for them for 7.5 years. And I was actually offered a position at Marine Inland by Memco, and I took it.
Was that very first job in the industry?
No, it was in the offshore rigs. That's what that was, offshore rigs. But my second job was working for a marine broker. And as I said, we did a lot of island hopping in the Caribbean. And So I coordinated travel and dealt with his customers, and whatever he needed me to do, I pretty much did, and did accounting as well. So I've done crew changes. I've done quite a few things that I never thought I'd ever do, but I did them.
Well, walk me through some details of your jobs up until you arrived at Memco.
Well, that was pretty much it. I worked, as I said, I worked for the marine broker for 5 years. And then I was hired on at Marine Inland Transportation under Sherry and George. And I started dispatching there for push boats and coordinating maintenance and repair, believe it or not. And I was responsible for coordinating the maintenance and repair for 13 push boats. So that was pretty interesting. Kept me pretty busy. And then I was offered a job through Dennis Vallejo approached me about going to work as an assistant operations manager. And at that time, it was Compass Dockside Towing and Fleeting. And at first I told him no, and then I thought about it and said, maybe I should make the move. So I did. And I stayed there about 3 years until they closed my division. I was responsible for the small tow boats, the push boats. And I guess having that little bit of maintenance knowledge really helped, because we didn't have a port engineer at that time, so it kind of helped a little bit. And then when I left there, I actually went to work for Cody Marine Shipyard, and then I went back to Elmwood, worked for Elmwood Marine Services for I was probably there probably 5 or so years, and I worked in the shipyard in the ops side, answering the phone, and again, the accounting background really helped me because that's what I did there exclusively for them. And then I went on to, place. I left there and I went to a company that's no longer in business, the Versatility Marine, that was owned by the Nobra pilots, two of the Nobra pilots. And so there I did a lot of the recruiting for, deck personnel as well as wheelhouse. So I already had that experience. And then I ran into James Scott again, and we just, he had already formed Tugboat Tripboard, and I went on board with him for a while, and placing pilots on inland push boats all over the United States, and that was pretty interesting. And then I went to work for Magnolia Fleet as an operations manager at the 122 fleet in the river. But from there, I did go on to, I went to work for Laborde Products in Covington in the service department, because I had the knack of, I knew a lot of the boats, and I had the familiarity with the engine repairs and that kind of thing. So that worked out really well. And I worked for them for about 3 or 4 years, and I loved working there. I've loved every job I've ever had, but that was a really great job. And then I left there and I went to work for a fleet called 10 Mile Exchange in Canal in Crown Point. Now, I don't know how long I was there, and I left there, and then I went to work for Gates Fuel Service in Santa Fe, Texas. But I dispatched from home for about 2 years. They're affiliated with FMT. So I know a lot of those people from FMT on the maintenance side, because I was involved in the maintenance side, and I also did, also they would come into Cody and they would go into Elmwood. So I got to meet all those guys, and again at Laborde, because we did all those barge power units. So I was in charge of all the engine startups and things like that. It was exciting. It was I enjoyed it very much. I worked for Harold Dodd, and he told me one time, Deborah, if you find a job you love, you never have to work a day in your life. And he was right. I don't know, I latched on to this business and it just wouldn't let me go. It's been exciting. It hasn't been boring, I can tell you. But when James asked me to come here, I just said, why not? My kids are grown. I'm by myself now, and I can go anywhere I want. So it's been crazy. It's been crazy busy, and it's been exciting.
Has there been any specific job or job task that you were especially attracted to that you really, really enjoyed?
I like it. I like coordinating things, whether it's repairs or coordinating arrival times, or just, coordinating. I like putting things together, making it happen. Those are the things that kind of strike me. Those things that I'm interested in, because and that's always seems to be a challenge, you know. Same thing with engine repairs and things like that. I mean, you run into the same people all the time, but it's the same, but it's always different. Nothing is ever cookie cutter. But it's like here we opened up this barge fleet and we actually went out and had to, contact our customers and contact the boats and reacclimate yourself and reintroduce yourself into the business because you're not always doing, I wasn't always doing the same thing. But with this fleet here, it's been, so sometimes I may put in 12, 15 hours. Well, I do, not sometimes, mostly all the time. 12, 15 hours a day. I may work Saturdays, Sundays, holidays on the week. It doesn't bother me because I enjoy it and I enjoy the people. The people is, that's one of the things I think that keep me going back. The people. You meet some characters.
Well, I know on our preliminary phone conversation, you dropped a lot of names that I was familiar with.
Hmm.
I think you've known a lot of the people I've met. I've been lucky enough to meet. Dennis Vallejo being one of them for sure.
That's a
Uh,
character. I
but
love that. He makes you laugh.
you have any stories to share about some of those people? Anything interesting or especially memorable from over the years?
Mm, no, not really. I don't know. Um, I'd have to sit down and think about it. The the one person that really played a big part in really introducing me to this business and always supporting me and being behind me was Miss Sherry Felder. She was, I admired her so much. She just had all this class and she just, sophistication, and she handled the way she handled people and handled things. That just totally always like blew me away. So I said, she was one of the driving forces, and whatever I wanted to do, she was game. I could do just about anything she'd say, but you just, people grow on you. You just get really attached to. I do anyway, and so she's one of the people that in my whole career I can say that I always tried to keep in touch with her. We might not speak for months, a couple of years, but she's always there. I always have to say that she's been one of the people that I've, we worked with together every day for 7.5 years, and I knew her prior to that, but she was just a blessing. And George Atkins the same. I mean, they were really good mentors for me. That's who pretty much grew me in this business, especially on the towboat side. So when I left there, I had no interest in barge fleets whatsoever. And now it's like this is probably my fourth barge fleet that I've worked in, and some of it's been dry cargo, some of it's been chemical and cargo. This is strictly chemical, but it's just always interesting, just to get to put your input into something and help something grow. That's the thing. I like that. That's what keeps me here. And of course, James, I know James for so long. I know what he's thinking. I know the answer. I already know what's going to ask me next. So, of course, I know the answer to the question. But I enjoy working with him, and he's a stickler. Keeps you on your toes. But we just always seem to mesh. So there's a million stories. I know his wife. I know his children. I'm, they're like my family. I've seen them. I've seen the oldest and the youngest. I see them growing, and it's kind of nice that you have those connections after all these years. So he's the reason I came here, and so are they. 'Cause that's all I didn't know anybody else here in Corpus. I know John Rooney, people like that, but they're not here in Corpus or in Ingleside or different places. But heck, I've been so doggone busy, I don't have time to go visit, or even visit on the phone. So this is it's just different. It's just a whole new life for me, and it's great. Business is here in Corpus is busier than I think it's ever been, and it's great to be a part of that. This is something new, and it's a little out of, I wouldn't say out of my league. It's just it's a lot different than doing it in New Orleans or doing it in Baton Rouge or doing it in the Houston Ship Channel. It's a whole lot different. It requires a lot of effort, and a lot of work, and being able to put things together and grasping it. You got to keep up with so many things, weather, and because that affects our business. But it's it's great. I think that I think I would have regretted not doing it.
In all that spare time you may or may not have for your personal life, what do you enjoy doing?
I go visit. I go back to Louisiana and visit my family, my children, my grandchildren. But outside of that, I mean, it's same thing that everybody else does. Go to the grocery shop and go, do things you have to do, little chores. And other than that, I mean, I really don't have a whole lot of time. I'm not a person that goes out a lot, so I really don't have a whole lot of time, nor do I want to go. We do go to the beach and we enjoy some of those things. They have like the sandcastle exhibit, or I went to Mardi Gras on the beach. That was cool, but that's about it. I mean, keep my circle small, just keep myself focused on what it is I have to do. And at the end of the day, it's like I'm just going home. I'm tired, but kind of
Well,
boring home. But it's
uh,
okay.
I'm the same way. I work, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, and then I come do this. That's about it.
That
But
that really is it.
did your children follow you into the industry?
Well, my son has worked on boats, um, and he was a deckaneer actually. He did pretty well. He's like really mechanically inclined, but he also is a certified fitter and welder, so that's what he's currently doing. But he loves boats. It's just he's getting married, so he's pretty much staying close to the shore, which I'm glad. My daughter, no, she didn't never had. She wished she would have, I think, but she never really had an interest. And other than, hey, mom, I need a new dress or something. But no, she's a housewife. She has kids, so she takes care of her kids. She's real good at it. Good mother.
Well, tell me a little bit about the beginning of Southern Fleet and logistics and down there in Corpus, and I guess what has progressed to, I think you said in about a year's time.
Well, we started out. We opened up. I came here probably 2 weeks shy of them driving the actual pylons in our Westwood. We have a fleet in the Viola Channel, and it can accommodate loads and empties. But when I came here, I think they had just put the office trailer on them at the main terminal site in the chemical base. So it was, we put set up procedures, policies, that kind of thing, and how we were going to dispatch and how to go about it, and kind of cross-trained each other. And um, I guess probably like the middle of March, we opened up the Westwood in Viola Channel. We had no customers, of course, so I mean, nobody knew we were here. So it was pretty much a job to get your name out there, get the fleet out there, the fleet's name, and tell them where we're located. And it's really been a godsend for some of those guys too, because there's so many docks here, and there wasn't enough fleeting space. So we were able to help them in that. We've helped a lot, we've helped them, they've helped us immensely. And then I'd say probably May or June of that year, we opened up, if I'm not mistaken, we opened up the main terminal here in Chemical, and we have a barge dock. We have a deck barge, and we fixed it up and really nice. Put nice handrails and everything, so we can accommodate up to 4 push boats at our main terminal, and so they can come in, crew change, do groceries. The whole goal was to pretty much be a one-stop shop. In other words, we had maintenance here. They could crew change. They can put their groceries, and eventually we were going to get water and fuel, which we've done that. Our latest achievement was actually getting running water here, because that was not the easiest task, but we've kind of muddled through all of that, and it's been pretty exciting. It's like always something new to do. We're always like trying to make it better. And some of the captains that James knows, they'll come in and like, man, James, this is really nice. Y'all, you have a class act and set up really nice, and the boats enjoy coming here, and there aren't a lot of places that you can go to crew change. So we offer that opportunity to not just the boats that are in this fleet, but also some of the other boats that aren't in here. But we know we're the only place they can go. They do groceries with us, and it's just it's always something new. And it's the same. It's just always something new. So we have some great customers, and we just love them. And hopefully they love us as much as we love them. So far, so good. I hope.
Oh, what's your barge capacity there in the fleet?
Well, the load empty and loaded fleet in Viola, we let's see, I'm gonna try to figure this one out. It's a small fleet, really. It's not on the scale. Said compared to New Orleans, it's a really small fleet. We might be able to accommodate 12 to 18 barges. Just depends. I think somewhere around 16 is a good number for us, and that's a combination of loads and empties. Here at the main terminal, we have we have pylons here, and we're able to accommodate 3 empties here, but that's about it. Hopefully, we'll expand on that someday. I hope it'd be nice to be able to do, but you are it just even that little bit. I'll say it's a small fleet compared to what I'm accustomed to, but it it's a challenge because it's always a mixture of loads and empties, and you have to make it all work out. So even as much as you think you're always on something new, which is great for me. 'Cause I feel like if you stop learning, it's time to die. It's time to die or retire. But it's exciting and it's interesting, and you know, it just holds my interest because I know that there's a lot of things that you have to think about to make it all work out. So not everybody can do it, and you've got people come. It's a secure facility here at the main terminal, so you have to come through the office. We have to sign you in. We read. Of course, I'm the AFSO as well because I've done that. Um, so somebody's got to be the bad guy and being the safety person too. I mean, it's just what it is. But it, gives some of these guys an opportunity. Some of the guys that work for us to become PICs, and we have some tankmen that work for us, licensed tankmen, merchant, credentialed mariners, and we've moved down one of them into a dispatch role, and I think he's going to do really well. Like I said, you always learn something. I learn something from them every single day because I know, even though I've been doing it all these years, you always learn something new. And there's always new technology coming in, just crazy things, And I'm gonna boast this because I need to brag about this. We are the only 100% green fleet that we know of. Might even be in the world, but we know here in the United States we're the only 100% green fleet out there. Meaning there's no electricity there. We have security cameras, but those cameras are all powered by solar power. So we have no running electricity there at all. And here at the main terminal, we do have security cameras, but we have backup generators and things like that. So we are right now we're in the process of we already have our contingency plan put together, but we're always making changes and we're always upgrading equipment, and we like to boast that we're a Green Marine member. I think the port of Corpus is also a Green Marine member, and then we are. And I don't know of any other company here that has come on board with that, but I like to boast that. There's some criteria that has to be met there as well. So, but it's been a challenge. Even that's been a challenge, the cameras and how you keep them running, things like that. But we think we've reached that plateau. I think we're getting better at it every day, especially the solar powered ones. But that's a pretty big achievement, I think.
How many boats operate there in the fleet for you?
None.
So it's all self-service?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you just a dispatcher tracking all the ins and outs and all that kind of stuff?
All of that, everything. We're actually when we started out, we to get boats in here, we actually would go track them on the marine maps, the marine app, and on AIS and things like that. And we'd actually get in contact with the boat or the customer and say, hey, we've opened this fleet and started, then went through all the steps, but then we just slowly started acquiring our customers. Golden is one of them, Martin Marine, you know, ACBL. Shoot, let's see, Chem Carriers. I know you're familiar with those guys. Um, Genesis, Campbell. I can go on and on. But so all of the majors, they fleeted here, and they do, and we try to provide them with good service. And I don't know if I can't remember it when anybody's ever complained. I can't say that we're perfect, but we are working on being the best we can be. So that's important.
Well, I guess in closing, I have kind of found myself oddly attracted to this industry. I can't explain the draw, but when I walked in the door at AEP in 2015, something was different. Do you have any feelings or message for the industry or for your years of experience?
I can say um, I had that similar attraction, and it never went away. It just I had I had to learn more. I had to know more. I had to know more about men because I always said when I worked for Marine and we did. They don't call it Trent towing anymore. They call it line hauling. But we actually had 13 push boats. 8 of those boats we trench towed in the canal, which meant we're always looking for work for the boats. I was looking for barges and that's how I got to know Dennis. And then when I went to work for Compass Dockside Towing and Fleet was actually owned by Memco. I went to work for Medco, then Memco. I changed companies 3 times in a year, and I still work for the same people. That was great. But I got to meet a lot of great people, and it just you were always meeting interesting people. A lot of characters. They make you laugh. Never a dull moment. They pull some crazy stuff. Even the guys on the boat. So you gotta kind of think out the box. I remember one story that does come to mind. Terrence. I worked for Terrence when uh, in he was in charge of both Compass Dockside Fleet, well, they called it M1, and then Convent. And after Katrina, he said, Deb, he said, what I like about you is you can think out the box. I said, baby, in this business, you better think out the box because you better be ready. Because you're never going to see everything. You're never going to see every, you won't. And you just won't. I keep saying, I know I've seen it all, but that's not true. It just keeps progressing. People get crazier. And, I met some, and I keep going back to the people. It's the people. It's all about the people. And, you can fix the steel, you just can't fix the people. But there's some really dedicated people in this industry, unlike I've ever seen. Even though the generations have changed somewhat, some quite a bit, but it's just always about the people for me. And I enjoy people. That's the most important thing. You know, you have to realize that that's like the most important part of this business. You can have the best equipment in the world, but it's the people. It's the people. And I have seen the trend though, like older people, some of them that you get to a certain age, you want to kick you to the kick you to the curb. But I don't see that happening anymore. A lot of people retiring from this business, and I miss them because those are people that I had those relationships with, and we'd laugh, and you'd be your best friend on the telephone. You probably never met the person in your life, but they're a good friend or whatever. And they're all retiring, and I guess they feel like it. I personally am going to die at my desk because I I can't. What would I do? And that's the first thing I say. What would I do? And I would miss this because I'm naturally nosy anyway. I'm always it's always about solutions, but those people that some companies have kind of pushed to retire, they're getting older, whatever. I see that trend changing because people starting to realize that maybe some of these old geezers might actually have some value, and they do, just times are different since COVID. I think times have changed, and I'm grateful for it because I know I don't want somebody to push me out of retirement. It's always said, and I've said this for 20 years, 30 years. I'm dying at my desk because I would miss out on all this excitement. you know, I know I don't think straight, but when you're working in a barge fleet or you're working around people in this industry, it's all going fast, and it's hard. Some people it's hard to keep up. It's not for everybody. So when my kids decided they didn't want any part of this, I said, I can't say I blame you, but I know I'm not. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm comfortable doing it. And I was always one I liked working in the background. I was not one of those forerunners. Just keep me working in the background, put me in the trenches, and I'll fight my way out. It was enjoyable, and that was my job. That's what I enjoyed doing, dispatching the boats, or coordinating the maintenance, or going to engine swings, or putting up on dry dock. That was my thing. Just heck, somebody's gonna let me go. I'm doing it. I was going to the shipyard. I thought it was great. And Medco kind of that was a big part of Medco too, because that was their program when Chris was you know CEO, when Chris was on the top there. That was one of the requirements that we had to do once a year. We had to board so many boats, ride so many boats, or go out to visit them. And I thought that was helpful. It was helpful getting to understand how they think, because you want to make something happen. You got to know how that person thinks. How are you gonna get this guy to work with? How are you gonna do that? And so it made them more comfortable. It made us more comfortable. It made me more comfortable anyway. But I don't know. It's just like people they don't want to do manuals, and I'm thinking this is good. This is real. I can read something that I finally am interested in and make some changes. Get somebody to help me get some input on it from the guys out there, on the boats, or the tankermen, or say, there's anybody, maintenance side of it. I think that's great, there's a common denominator, because we all have to have these manuals, whether we want to or not. And I just said, man, this is a great way to kind of bring people together and get them to understand why you have to do it this way. Why are there rules and regulations? And it's kind of, it's a lot of people, believe me, I know it's for the best, and I know things have changed, but it is for the best, and it's for the safety of this, and it's for the safety of these guys, and it's to better enhance the future of the marine business. It really is, because I hate seeing people lose their lives, and so if you can, educate someone and teach them why safety and compliance and all these things are important, and better educate them on it, then maybe we have a chance to better as a whole, to better the industry, because we all know rules and regulations were mandated by the Coast Guard based on something that happened that shouldn't happen but keeps on happening. So they change the rules accordingly. I get that. Sometimes they don't want to, but they've been forced to do it. OSHA and all the, you know, I mean, we're subject to some of that too, but mostly it's Coast Guard. And we've had the Coast Guard come here at our main terminal at least 3 times in the last year, and we were happy to have them. We're really proud of this. And all of this fleet, this whole fleet, was designed by a captain, a licensed captain. That'd be Captain James Scott. He placed these pylons and batters where he thought they needed to be placed, and it's worked out extremely well. And I'm proud to say that, because he's given us a lot of thought. This isn't something that just flew and landed in his lap overnight. He's planned it, and I respect him for that.
Well, that'll just about do it for my questions, I think. I do appreciate your time this afternoon, Miss Mayfield.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to boast about our fleet here.
I'll let you know when I have this all ready. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.